some people, you know, they take their problems with them, and I think that's where Harry is right now. And Harry has not built as much in America as Meghan has.
And also when he gave that interview, sorry to bang on Matt, but to the BBC, he looked really...
He looked so angry.
He looked so... Yeah. Harry is very emotional and gets very, very, very angry. And
he's a hothead.
He's very intense. He's got the Spencer temper.
Yeah.
And they all have it. They all have it.
But this is the thing, is that, you know, I was thinking to myself, like, why has he done this with the BBC interview? And I couldn't get away from the fact that Meghan didn't do this and doesn't do this kind of stuff because Meghan has built this whole thing in America with her lifestyle brand and her new Netflix show and her podcast. And because she's built this new thing, she doesn't want to wreck it and she doesn't want to ruin it. So she's got something she's fighting for. Harry's not built anything out in America. He's got nothing to fight for. He's got nothing to force him to restrain himself when he gets angry. And so I just cannot get away from the fact that the solution to most of Harry's problems actually is just to build something fantastic in America that people can get excited about and stop, you know, and then he will be able to let go of the past. But I think
I think you should be his new advisor.
Well, he doesn't listen to his advisors. So.
We give Harry and Meghan advice every week on this show. I can confirm that I don't think they listen to or take away any of the advice. But we become body language experts in many ways, don't we? We become or looking at pictures or reading things into how we see the couple acting and the consequences of their actions. You discussed. I mean, I say the BBC interview was cataclysmic for their strategy.
Yeah,
because there was an opportunity there for the reconciliation.
A 2-year strategy blown up in one interview.
It was absolutely dreadful idea. But going back to the mood board, going back to how their kind of life is there. Are we agreeing there's kind of no 7-year itch then? I mean, things are moving on quite well as far as we're aware. I did a story this week saying that you know, Harry would never leave Meghan, but obviously they've gone through, they've had between them there's been a lot of sacrifices.
I think that they are dependent on each other though.
Yeah,
totally. Well, that's what you said, Jack.
Yeah, I agree.
So we are in total agreement.
Prince Harry, the once beloved royal soldier, the cheeky prince adored by millions. But behind that charming smile, there's a side of Harry few people truly understand, a fiery temper that's cost him nearly everything. In this video, we dive deep into how his anger blew up his life in minutes, and the one possible way he can finally take control before it's too late. Every royal watcher remembers when it started to unravel, when Harry stopped biting his tongue, explosive interviews, harsh words about his family, and those infamous moments where his frustration boiled over. Insiders say his fury wasn't just against the institution, it was personal. It was decades of pain, grief, and resentment bursting to the surface. But that temper came with a heavy price. Once the Golden Prince, Harry became a global headline for all the wrong reasons. Friends distanced themselves. Royal bridges were burned. Even King Charles, who had once given his son everything, reportedly stopped taking his calls. It wasn't just rebellion, it was self-destruction in real time. And then came Meghan. For Harry, she was a lifeline, someone who understood his pain. But critics say that her presence amplified his anger instead of calming it. Together, they waged war on the press, the palace, and even their own pasts. The world watched as Harry's fury became his brand, and Meghan stood at his side, encouraging him to speak his truth, no matter the fallout. Now, in California, Harry's anger hasn't gone away, it's just been rebranded. Behind the glossy Netflix deals and staged smiles, the same frustration simmers beneath the surface. Sources close to the couple say he's restless, often volatile, still haunted by a deep need to prove himself. The once confident prince is now a man struggling with purpose and patience. So, is there any way back? Experts say there is one path Harry must take if he's to reign in that infamous temper: forgiveness. Not just of his family, but of himself. Until he makes peace with the anger that's defined him for decades, no amount of fame, money, or publicity will fill the void. Harry's life blew up in minutes, but rebuilding it will take years. The world doesn't need another outburst from the angry prince. It needs to see the man he could still become, and if he can master his rage, perhaps redemption isn't out of reach after all.
They are very dependent on each other.
There was this story that Meghan, had her people approach someone about a divorce book. But I mean, imagine if Meghan left Harry, it would destroy her reputation. She would be eviscerated publicly because she's already slipped into this kind of category on social media. The way that pop culture commentators talk about her, they lump her in with Amber Heard. They lump her in with, these other famous women who are perceived as, being narcissistic or, being controlling of their husbands. Alec Baldwin's wife got this treatment the other day. Blake Lively as well. So if she walked out on Harry, she would never reputationally survive it. But then Harry, without Meghan, what's his life in America going to be like?
Well, he wouldn't leave the children, you see. And in America, the rules about, children, they're always with the mother, nearly always.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so it's not going to happen. So do you remember everyone, when they got married, a lot of members actually of the royal family even said it won't last 5 years. But it has.
It has.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
lasted 7.
Yeah.
Through a lot of crises, through a lot of,
huge pressure.
You talk about some strategic errors. I mean, that would be a major strategic error on Meghan's behalf, basically, if we looked at it strategically.
Yeah, and obviously you can't just look at your marriage strategically because, you live it daily. But strategically, it would be a catastrophic mistake.
Interesting.
And I think, I think she does need Harry, I think she does. And she must know by now that she doesn't get everything right.
Yeah, so we're behaviour experts, we're marriage experts.
But without Harry,
we're allowed to.
she is nothing.
She's nothing. And without her, Harry's life in America is nothing.
Well, yes, exactly.
He has a reputation to fall back on.
So they have a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, they need each other.
Yeah.
Now, one thing Meghan does do without Harry is her podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm open that I rarely listen to it. I know we spoke the other day, Jack. I said, have you been listening to the podcast? And me and you were kind of, we listen to it on high speed, or that we do pay attention to it, but we're probably not the target audience. It's the penultimate episode that's just occurred this week. Is it succeeding? Enough people watching it? Is it working for Meghan?
So one big question here is, what did she expect it to be? Does she need it to be top 10? It's not top 10. It has, the first episode or two when we were all writing loads of news lines off the back of it, that got into the top 10. It very quickly dropped out again. It's now not even in the top 200 on Apple. It is in the top 100 business podcasts somewhere in the 60s. So it's not hugely well listened to. But
the publicity around it is amazing.
Well, not so much anymore. I think, as I say, I think the journalists are kind of turning off.
Every day people are writing about it. I mean, I'm out of the news world, and I promise you, and people never stop writing, and I look at it and I think, well, Netflix or the podcast or Meghan must be delighted. She may not have the hits of people watching it, but gosh, she's had some amazing publicity.
So does it serve the purpose that it gives deeper insights into her life rather than this idea of being an entrepreneur? She often throws little nuggets on. I think this week she was talking about how having children was not how she envisioned it. Is that the idea, that she's giving a little glimpse into Montecito?
Yeah, I think the comment about the children, where she was saying she thought before she had Archie that she was going to have him on her hip while she was giving speeches as a royal, so she would be going to a royal event and Archie would be with her, which obviously never happened. So that was what she was saying. She the life of parenting was not what she envisaged.
But she only had to look at other royal mothers to know that
it's not possible.
It's a no-go, isn't it?
It's just not
How
possible.
lovely it would be, but it's a no-go. You can't.
Yeah.
Have the kid on your hip and be giving speeches in the royal world. You can't in any world, really.
No, but I think the podcast is most interesting when she gives details about her life, certainly to us, but I'm not the founder of a business. Maybe if I was the founder of the business, I would be more interested in that side of things. I think, though, it's quite a niche world. Business podcasts, there are a lot of them. A lot of them are about investing for the very simple reason that anyone can do it. You have to have some money. Obviously you can't invest if you don't have any money, but as long as you do, it's relatively straightforward, and people need advice. They need specific, concrete advice about how to invest. So that's why a lot of business shows focus on that.
So it's not actually Meghan's, what you're saying, Jack, is that Meghan's podcast isn't actually really giving us any kind of advice.
I think that it's a niche audience of people who are founder, you would have to be a woman who was the founder of a new business. So if you are a female founder of a business, but you did it 10 years ago and you're up and running, you're not necessarily going to get that concrete advice. But I also think it's quite sparse on advice anyway. Yeah. And I think what Meghan needs to do really is, I think these shows that she's been doing that are about her shining as a personality are putting too much pressure on her, when actually there's been a big backlash against her. And she needs to start doing things that are inherently interesting, rather than trying to do these shows that are basically pitching her friendships and her relationships with, because all the guests have been her friends.
Whereas
they've been light on interesting friends, this one. Remember, Archetypes had some bigger names, like Paris Hilton and all sorts
had
of
big
people
famous
This
people.
time,
we
it's all
haven't
been
heard of
business
them here,
leaders.
have we, necessarily?
I don't think many
you
people
have,
have
Matt.
heard of many of them.
I don't think
I think
Kitch
you're
is a
being
big
very
brand.
fair. I think you're actually putting across a really good argument for her. Not being behind.
Jack always does.
As
He gets in
always,
trouble
yeah,
for it.
yeah.